Guardians of the Galaxy 2021 game was a surprising hit, and one of the reasons would have to be based on the story and how it cleverly ties into what each of the Guardian deals with in the game, from their fears, traumas, and grief. The Guardians get themselves into trouble when the Nova Corps, which is the space police. When they attempt to pay off their fine, a bit of trouble goes on with the Nova as they are taken over by an evil church group. The Universal Church of Truth, where the leader, Grand Unifier Raker, uses the main source of the church called the Matriarch to feed off of people's pain by giving them the illusion of their lost loved one being alive. The more the individual believes in the illusion, the more the church controls the individual. As they say, the individuals must have faith. Each of the Guardians through the game learns to overcome their fears, traumas, and pain as they face off against the church. What this shows the players is that everyone has their ways of dealing with pain. However, there are good ways and bad ways of dealing with pain.
I used science. Science of faith.
Faith is not science.
To simply put, as one of the Guardians, Gamora quotes another character named Kor-El.
Seriously, Kor-El?
Join the Guardian, she said. It'll be good for your mental health, she said.
Each of the Guardian throughout the game shares and implies what every Guardian has been through and motivated them to even join the team. The church comes along to remind them of each of their pains and almost divides the team based on what they have experienced. After certain points of the story, players will witness how each character eventually overcomes their personal issues. These characters would include Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, Drax the Destroyer, and Gamora. However, Groot does not quite get a really emotional moment in the game, but he is a supportive friend in the game. They deal with their problems within their families, fears that remind them of their past, and even being the last of their kind. One thing the players should keep in mind is that the game has several differences from their popular version, which are the movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that came out in 2014 and the sequel in 2017. This is why we get to see other characters deal with the church, such as Cosmo the Space Dog and a young girl named Nikki, aka Cadet Gold. Just a quick heads up, there will be some spoilers in the video. Also, I will put a few of these characters' arcs a little out of order to show least emotionally effective to most emotionally effective. The Universal Church of Truth was especially angering for Gamora. She is the adopted daughter of Thanos and was trained and manipulated by Thanos. When she saw how the church was using children to do their bidding, she chases after Raker, and if the player lets her, she returns to the ship with Raker's arm. Then at one point, she breaks down, claiming she is a monster due to Thanos and how she felt she had to personally assassinate Raker to make up for what she has become. However, the Guardians reassure her that they would take the church down together and remind her that she is not a monster because the team loves her, and she even admits that she loves or simply likes the team just the same, so she claims. This helps calm down a while, and while it doesn't really add much in terms of the story, she still gets a fighting ability she gets to use in the game. Then there is Rocket Raccoon. He hates getting wet and fears being in water any higher than his knees. He revisited this memory while on a mission to help Drax. If the player as Peter encourages Rocket to open up, you learn of this fear because while he was being created, he was always drowned underwater. He overcomes this fear when he has to save Gamora and Groot from a couple of monsters impersonating the Guardians by crawling into a hole filled with water. He does eventually put his friends before his fear, so later in the game, he starts becoming comfortable with being in water again. This is what would help the team get to Drax, and Rocket would get a new ability too.
Fog monsters? Cave pigs? Wet waterfalls? That was easy.
This is just an echo.
You're not the only one that hears that, right?
Drax's family was murdered by the Mad Titan Thanos. When he accepts the promise of the Matriarch, he goes to relive the memories of his wife and daughters. On one of the player's missions, with help of two other characters named Mantis and Adam Warlock, the Guardians enter Drax's promise, where he is seen several times talking to what looks like his family. Each time the Guardians catch up to Drax, he is running away, only because he wants to be with his family. Eventually, Drax learns that he cannot keep running away from his team, and cannot hold onto his family forever. His attachment to his family makes him believe that he will be alone and have nothing, but his team tells him that they are there for him, being surrounded by people who care about him. Drax then puts an end to the promise by claiming he would remember his wife and daughter for everything they have been through. This brings him back to normal, and as he gets a new fighting style in combat.
They are the only thing that matters. My Hovat. Without it, I will have nothing. I cannot be alone again.
You're not alone, man. We're here for you.
You play as Star-Lord, aka Peter Quill. In one sequence, the player learns of the possibility that Peter might be a dad, and he is really freaked out about that, mainly because he never actually knew his father to guide him, and there is a huge possibility of him raising his mystery child as basically a single dad. However, he does overcome this fear when he confronts the supposed ghost of his girlfriend during the vision of him and his daughter celebrating the mother's/girlfriend's birthday created by the church. After simply talking to the ghost of his girlfriend, Peter knows he has to eventually do what he can to help his possible daughter deal with the grief she never had as a father figure. He destroys the birthday objects in the room while explaining to Nikki that what she is doing is unhealthy,
You light something.
but there are other ways of paying tribute and remembering her mom. This would
Pay
lead to
tribute.
the destruction of the church and the end of the matriarch.
It's not magic or anything. It doesn't bring anyone back, but you know, it's a gesture.
What this game ultimately succeeds at is using the story to develop an arc for these characters. While the game mostly focuses on the tragedy of each of these characters, it should be stated that there are plenty of humorous moments to lighten the spirits of the players.
A bunch of babies. Oh, you were too.
Are these?
Centurion armor.
Yup. Feel free to try one on, Quill.
A true warrior requires no armor. For real? Can I try one?
If you want to get fried to a puddle of goo, each one is gene-coded by the World Mind.